Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi and today we are doing a Surratt swatch party. So this video has come highly requested. I have quite a few of the Surratt eyeshadows, blushes, and some other random products. So we're gonna go ahead and swatch my collection. So let's start off with the some of the more random items that I have, and then we'll move into the multitude of colors of eyeshadows and blushes. All right, so we're gonna start off with just kind of some items that I don't have a ton of different shades in, or things that are singles, like the Surratt primer. The Surratt Perfectionist primer, this is it's 30 milliliters, so it's 1 ounce. This is, I believe it's silicone free, and it is kind of this white water-based primer here. You can see it shears out. If you have deeper skin, you could get a little bit of a white cast, but nothing's truly significant. So when you go and you put makeup on, you're not going to notice, but it actually gives a bit of blurring. So I'm not sure if you can really tell. I'm trying to put it just on this bottom portion of my hand so you can see the difference in how the veining appears, but it will give you a bit of blurring. What I really love about this primer is that it's mattifying without drying. So if you are putting sunscreen on, or you have really dewy skincare on and it's just a little bit too dewy to put your makeup on, this neutralizes that without actually drying anything out. So I absolutely love this primer. It feels silky smooth on my skin, almost like nothing's there. It doesn't really have any sort of strong texture to it, or no fragrance or anything like that. So it's an absolutely incredible primer. I have gone through several tubes of this since this came out. It's made in the US. I have 2 backups on hand because, as you can see, I'm running out of this. I think this is my 3rd tube. This lasts me, if I use this every day, about 9 months or so, and then it's time to replace it. So it's a pretty good deal. Last summer, Bergdorf's had like a 30% off sale, for like just a couple days. They put some of their beauty on sale. It's their big beauty event. That should be coming up soon. They typically have some Surratt items on sale, and they did have the primer last year. So I picked up a few of them at that point. So definitely stay tuned for that, just in case that happens again. So just so you can kind of see, the primer is dried in. This part up here does not have the primer, and this part does. And you can see how it changes a little bit of, how my skin appears. It has almost more like a blurred silken filter on it. And that's what it does to my skin. It's gorgeous. Now, just to go over a few more, base products, Surratt has these diaphan loose powder compacts, and there are 2 different shades. One of them has a little bit of shimmer and one of them does not. It comes with a cushion, a little powder cushion here. It does have a mirror in here, and then inside it is a loose powder with netting. So, I'm not sure off the top of my head which one's which, so we'll swatch them and see. But we have this one here. You can see that's just like kind of a pale ivory. And this is the matte shade. I don't see any shimmer in there. And then this one must be the other one. I'll put that right next to it. You can see the shades are pretty similar, but this one does have just a little bit of shimmer, slightly warmer, it looks like, as well. So honestly, they're pretty similar, and they are a little bit messy. However, it is a beautiful powder. Actually, after I did everything on my makeup, I just took a very fluffy brush, actually this one here from D.O.W, and just lightly dusted some of the powder all over to just kind of give it a final blurred effect. And I find it to be a very effective powder, really nice, just a tad messy, but I would recommend these. While we're talking about base products, I used to have the Surratt Dewdrop Foundation. I don't have it any longer. I did use up my bottle. I think it's a very nice foundation. It kind of gives you, it has a little bit of a dewy effect, but it's not overly dewy on me. Actually, when my skin was a bit drier, it appeared actually more matte than you might expect. And I thought it was a really beautiful foundation. Very nice, but it's honestly, it's not one of my favorites. So as much as I like that one, there are other foundations I prefer. And I would have to say like the Coke and Dough moisturizers, or foundations, and the Clé de Peau, those two brands are foundations that I prefer personally. But we do have another base product, or sort of, from Surratt that I absolutely love. By the way, I do also have their brow pencil somewhere. It's refillable. I think that's okay. You know, I have gone through a refill of it. It's nice, but it's more of one of those drier pencils. So I prefer some others. This, however, is one of my all-time favorite products. It is the Noir Lash Tint, and I'm really hoping they make a brown one sometime. But you can see we have a metal tube here, and this is our comb, our metal lash comb, and it's a lash tint. So it's going to darken your lashes, give them, you know, a bit of emphasis and so forth, but it's not going to necessarily lengthen or volumize. It can help give the appearance of that a little bit because it is darkening what you have, but it is not actually giving you any benefits like that. And it is a product that needs to be removed with an oil-based cleanser. So just so you know, this one is made in Japan, and we have 0.07 ounces or 2.2 grams of product. It's a favorite. I have repurchased it a few times. I will be purchasing that again. I love it for easy looks, and you know, it's like the perfect everyday daytime mascara for me. So let's move on to the lip products from Surratt. So Surratt, they have some glosses. I personally don't love their glosses. I find them to be a bit sticky. They're too sticky for me. So I got rid of mine, but I do love these. These are the lip sleeks. They are a little expensive. However, they're just incredible. So right now I have one of the lip sleeks on in the shade Heaven, and that's Hevyn. I love it. So this is a lip sleek. So it's going to be thin. It's very creamy. You can turn this up here. This one here is the shade Nude de Soleil. Now this is one that once you turn it up, you can't turn it down. So I don't love that, but you can see how creamy and soft it is. I actually just kind of pulled some of this off. This is Nude de Soleil. You can see it's like a peachy beige, very soft, light shade. These are just, they're so incredibly comfortable on the lips. This one here is the shade I have on right now. This is Heaven. And you can see that is a beautiful, kind of like one of those nude rose shades, kind of, you know, your My Lips But Better in my case. So I love this. This is one of my favorites. And another favorite of mine, my daughter clicked this one up too far, but this is Chuchote. And this is a light pale pink. And I use this quite a bit, particularly during the summer, because it just gives a hint of color. You can see that the pink has a little bit of coolness to it. There's no real lilac in it, but it's got enough coolness that it's starting to lean that way. And then we have Gamine. This is going to be a peachy shade here. And it's, you know, pretty much, you know, a neutral peach. Really love this one. Just soft, light, screams summer to me. We also have Fais, I'm not sure how that's supposed to be said. This is going to be another pale pink, but you can see this is going to be warmer in tone. It's also a little bit lighter. This reminds me like of a fluffy pink marshmallow. So, and then the last one that I have is called Perfectioniste. And this is kind of like your deeper, more medium toned rose. There's a touch of red in there, but it's too light for that. It's really just going to be more of a medium rose shade. So these are the lip sleeks that I have. And I think these are just, they're a fantastic lip product. Really love these. They are made in Japan, and you have 1.6 grams of product. Really fantastic. Okay, so one more time for the shades. We have Nude de Soleil, Heaven. This one is Chuchote. Then we have Gamine, and then this one is Fais and Perfectioniste. Now, I do have some new Surratt products that I'm just starting to try out. So this is one of their Smoky Eye Batons. So this is in the shade Sandra, and I have this on as a base on my eyeshadow today, so I put some of the powder shadows on top, but this, you can twist it up and down. You're twisting from here. And this, again, is the shade Sandra. And I wouldn't say it's super creamy, but it's creamy enough to blend out. It seems to have a little bit of a putty-like texture, so it's got a little bit of grip, and the powder shadows really adhere to it well. So I think this is a great like eye base. So I really like this one. You can see it's more of a taupe, but it does have a little bit of warmth in the undertone when you spread that out. So just something to note there. And then another one-off product that I have, this is one of the Prismatique Eyes. This one's called Glamour Eyes, and these are their duos. So you can twist off the lid and you have a cream shadow. This one's old, so you can see mine's not, you know, touching the side anymore. But you have this, you know, kind of this, it's a cooler tone, more blue-based plum. And then this swivels off to give you your powder shadow. And these are meant to be paired. So I'll put the powder here. And you can see this is going to be more of a reddish purple. You can see it's got a reflect. So sometimes it looks cooler, sometimes it looks warmer. And then you're supposed to layer those together, and look at that. I love the way this looks on the eyes, but I have to say I don't get all day wear with this. I do get creasing, so I don't use it as frequently as I would otherwise, but I love the combination. It is gorgeous. This is another one I like a lot for some reason during the summertime. And then let's move on to the bronzers real quickly. So these are the new bronzers. This one here is Soleil Clair. I've been wearing this all the time. This is pretty much my everyday bronzer at this point. And then we also have Soleil Doux. And this one is actually a little lighter, but a little bit more golden. Gorgeous products. And again, these are made in Japan, and we have 8.5 grams of product in the bronzers. Let's go ahead and we're going to take a look at the liquid blushes. So these are the Artistique liquid blushes. They were designed to match up with shades from the powder line as well. So I do have the powder shades. I'm not sure if I have all of them now. When I purchased these, I did not, but I had a couple of them. This one here is Parfait. I hate the applicator on this. So you got a sponge here. You can see the color coming up here. You have to kind of keep twisting this. You know, it's one of those products that sometimes you're twisting it for quite a while. So let me just dab that one out. So this one here is Parfait, which is actually one of my favorite of the powder blushes. And I just don't really like these, partly because of the applicator. Also, you know, I feel like you can see how much this blends out. I feel like on my skin, when you blend it out that much, you don't really see it too much. And if I have to pile it on to get more of the color, I feel like it's just, it's not the right texture then. There's too much product there. Next up, we have the shade Cantaloup. And this is kind of a peachy shade here. And you can see that this is definitely going to be warmer. It's also a little bit deeper, even when you shear this one out. But you can see this is going to be a warm, like orangey peach. And I mean, you could see while I was capping this how, you know, more of that product kind of oozed out, even though I didn't twist it. So that's something that happens with these. I find it very annoying. So then we have Classique. And this is your red shade. And get a little bit more here. I really like this. This is like a cherry shade. I like this one sheared out. This is my favorite of the four. I'm not sure if I picked up all of them or if I only have four. I can't remember how many there were. But during the initial launch, at least, there were just these four. So this is Barbe Pape, or Papa. And this is going to be your light, like pearly pink. And you can see a bit of that pearliness in here. And yeah, again, I just think when you shear these out, they just don't have that much presence. I just don't like them. So, and they do, for me at least, they fade by the end of the day. So I found these to be unsuccessful personally, but I love the concept, the idea. I don't like the packaging. The product itself is okay, but I think it could be improved. So one more time, we have the shades Parfait, Cantaloup, Classique, and Barbe Papa. So let's go ahead and take a look at the powder, blushes, and highlights. All right, so I'm in the middle of editing. It's actually pretty late at night, and I realized I forgot to swatch the 2 highlighter sticks, the Torche Lumières. And this is seriously like my favorite highlighter stick. The shade Diamante is my favorite, and that's this one here. So let me just go ahead and swatch that. So I have one sheer swatch here, and then I built it up, and you can see it's like a golden champagne. There are actually 3 shades that they have in this. The one is more of a yellow gold, which I did not purchase. This has 11.5 grams of product. It's made in Japan. Look at that shimmer. So my favorite way to apply this is to just take a little bit and just kind of dab it on. And you can see you get that really beautiful, more subtle shimmer. I have used this for years, and seriously, look how much product's left. And I've literally, like, when I first got this, I used it every day for like the entire summer. So it's definitely one I use a lot. The other one that I picked up is the Rose Diamante, which is the pink one. And you can see it's going to be a nice cool tone pink. These definitely have shimmer in them. I think they're gorgeous. The texture is, it's not too wet. It doesn't feel like one of those glossy highlighter sticks like the lip sticks from Westman Atelier or anything like that. It will pretty much set down, maybe not 100% permanent of a set down, but it ends up feeling very smooth. I don't feel the product. It feels like my skin. So, you can still get some transfer if you like rub it, but it stays put pretty well. And I just think it is stunning. So I love both shades. Diamante is the one I reach for the most, but they're also really beautiful, both of them individually, but also mixed. So just wanted to share that one. And let's move on to the next set of swatches. Now, before we take a look at swatches, let me show you how everything was packaged, because I did recently order some more shades. So Surratt often will package their items when they ship them in these plastic bags. I have gotten a few orders without that, so if you don't get one, it happens most of the time, but I guess not always. And you can see you've got like bubble wrap inside 2 clear plastic pieces, so you're not actually feeling the bubble wrap. These are fantastic. They're reusable. I love these for traveling, keeping your products in there because, if something spills, it's great. You've got, support here as well, protection for the items. So let me show you how the actual products come. Now with Surratt, they sell palettes. Like this would be an example of their petite palette. And then you can put, 4 shadows inside or 2 blushes. Or they also have a grande that fits 6 of the eyeshadows or 3 of the, blush sizes. Or, obviously you can mix and match. Now the actual blushes, they come in a package like this. And then you have this plastic on here. This is totally usable as is. You don't need to purchase a packaging, additional packaging for it if you don't mind having something like this around. On the back, you have a little sticker here. And, if you were to put it in your palette, that's what you would use. These are not magnetic. This is plastic. So what I do instead is I purchased the Pro palette. And this has a clear lid. It's a magnetic palette. They now make this in different sizes. I actually have to pick up another one because my new blushes, they're not going to fit in here. But let me just show you what I do real quickly. So we're going to take this one here. So this is the shade Angelique. And I use little magnetic stickers. So I've got these round ones here. And these are just, things I picked up off of Amazon. And then I also have these little rectangle ones. So I'll use these on the eyeshadows, but I use the round ones that came together on here. And just got that wet because I guess my makeup remover sprayed onto my desk. So just gonna take the sticker off. Okay, and I'm not gonna take the sticker backing off. I'm just gonna put this on And then this will fit into my palette here. And there we go. So sometimes the stickers aren't strong enough, they'll fall off, and then I add a little hot glue. So just something to note, but let's go ahead and start swatching things. This is the shade Chaleur, and this is what used to be used as bronzer before they just came out with the bronzers. And let me just go ahead and swatch the new bronzers with that one more time. This one here is Soleil Doux. We're gonna put those vertically, and you can see the difference in the shade there. This is gonna be more golden. Chaleur has a bit more orange in there, a little bit more rust. This is Soleil Clair, and you can see it's a deeper brown. There's a touch of red in there, so it's actually cooler in tone. And then I also want to take a look at, you know, what I actually have on right now for contour. This is Grisaille. This is one of my favorite shades. This is also beautiful on the eyes. And you can use these on the eyes or the face, but you can see it's going to be a cool, you know, taupey gray contour. So really beautiful. Now you can use these artistic cheek shades. They can be blushes, contour, highlights, so forth. This is another one of the new ones I just picked up, so I haven't used this yet. This is Coup de Genie. And let's go ahead and put this one right here. You can see this is going to be a peachy highlight. It's a little bit deeper than I thought, but really beautiful. One of my favorite highlights of all, like not just Surratt, is Aureole. And this is just a beautiful, like, subtle highlight. And you can see it's going to be ivory with a touch of champagne in there. Really beautiful. Next, this is the shade Angelique that I just opened. And again, this is going to be more of a peachy shade, and you can see that this one has some shimmer in there. Some of these are going to be more of a true matte, and a few of the shades will have some shimmer. This can also be used as a highlight for deeper skin tones as well. Halo, this is going to be our yellow shade. And again, you can see there's a subtle sheen to this one. And it's really a pretty true yellow. And again, if you like yellow eyeshadow, that also will work on the eyes. Now, this shade here, many people like to use this one as a highlight or as a blush. This is Duchesse or Duchesse, and it's a very soft pale peach. And it's really pretty. Now, this is going to be one of the more matte shades. Then we have Cherubique here. This is more of like a tea rose. So you can see it's got a little warmth to it, and it does have a sheen. So this is more of a satin finish, and it's like a warm tea rose. Now another one, this is La Vienne Rose. This is going to be another rose, but it's a little bit cooler. This is more of your dusty tea rose. Really beautiful shade. This is, I think, the first shade that I purchased from the blushes, and yeah, I really like that one. Guimauve. This is a really beautiful, you know, kind of bubblegum pink, bright pink in a very soft pastel shade, and this is going to be a matte finish. What I'm wearing now is the Barbe Papa, which is a really beautiful shimmery pink with a touch of lilac. And again, we saw this shade in the liquid. In the liquid though, it actually looks more like this shade Guimauve, just with some pearlescence. Fais Rougir. And this is gonna be another, you know, kind of like your medium pink. And it is gonna be a neutral pink. It's kind of right smack dab in the middle, just like a classic pink. And then we have a really bright pink Pomponner. And look at this, it's kind of like a bright fuchsia pink here. Really beautiful. You can see that you've got a bit of a blue undertone in this one. And yeah, I mean, it's a gorgeous shade. This is another one that I just purchased, so I haven't used this yet. This is called Rougeur. And this is going to be a berry. Ooh, that's gorgeous. And by the way, these last few here have been mattes. This one here is Classique. And again, this is what we saw in the red liquid. And you can see it's a really beautiful red. And I say there's a little bit of a blue tone to it. It's a beautiful soft red. It blends out beautifully. I love the hint of color you can get with this, you know, making it look like a really natural flush. Ponceau, this is one of my most used shades. It is going to be a coral. Look at that. Beautiful. This is a great shade for summer. Absolutely love this. It's kind of a bright coral shade. This one here is Brillante, and this is going to be kind of your bright orange. You can see there is definitely, you know, some brightness to this, kind of like a touch of neon in here. And this is going to be a matte shade. You know, actually, unless I mention the shimmer, they're matte shades. And then this is Flamme. And this one has shimmer. This is going to be more of your golden orange. It's not deep enough to be a burnt orange, but it is kind of, if you know, like when you're looking at a pumpkin during the fall, those deeper pumpkins, you know, that are just like a little bit darker. That's kind of what that color is. Parfait, again, one of my most used, and we saw this in the liquid, and this is going to be a peach. And there is a touch of pink in this, so not enough to call it an actual coral shade, but it's peach with a touch of pink, so it's not going to be too warm. If you do want a warmer peach, we have Peau de Peche, which is another really beautiful shade. This is more of your true peach, and you can see how much more pink Parfait looks when you put that next to it. And if you look at this, this is more of a matte, lighter version of Flamme. Flamme, again, is still going to have a little bit more true orange, but they do definitely have a similarity there. This is another new one to me. This is Cantaloup. And this is going to be more of your yellow-based orange. So it's still more orange than yellow, but there is going to be a little bit of, you know, a golden hue to it, and it's going to be a matte shade. So that's how it's going to be lighter and matte versus Flamme, which is going to be a little bit deeper orange and shimmery. So just some things to note there. And then we have La Rosee du Soir, which is kind of your, you know, your nude rose shade. So this is a really beautiful classic, you know, more of your nude blush shade. Really gorgeous. Again, that's one of the first ones I ever purchased. So these are going to be all of the Surratt blushes and cheek shades that I have. I'm going to go ahead and remove these, and we will take a look at the eyeshadows. So as I move into the eyeshadows, let's actually start off with their halogram shadows. So the halograms are their more duochrome shades, and they created two bases to go with it. So we have light matter, which is this. This is not this, it's the same size as the cheek shades, but this is actually going to be more of a cream based product here. And you can see this is a light, kind of a peachy beige. And then we have dark matter, which I actually think this is better for the halogram shades. And this is going to be black. You can definitely kind of blend it out and get more of a gray. You can do a beautiful smoky look with this. But these are going to both have a creamier texture. And you know what? Let me go ahead and swatch these on my arm going down so we can see a little bit of the halograms on these as well as on their own. So let me go ahead and put the light matter over here. Oh, I didn't get enough. Hold on. Now, I have to say, when you put the shadows over the light matter, it doesn't make a huge difference. It's kind of going to be pretty much what you see regardless. Now, the halograms also are going to have a creamier texture. This one here is exclusive to the Surratt website. It is my favorite. This one's called Supernova. I mean, look at this. So this is it on its own. And you have kind of this blue, green, purple shift. And when you put that on top of the dark matter, you can see that it really kind of, you know, gets a little bit, you can see the depth of color shows through more. When you put it over the light matter, you can see it gets maybe slightly more intense, but it still looks pretty similar to what we have in the middle there with nothing. This one here is Interstellar, and this is going to be your silvery shade. So here it is over the light matter and on its own, and then over the dark matter. You can see it's not going to be quite, you're not going to see quite as much on the dark matter. It stands out, but you can see it actually, it's not blue. There is an actual blue, but it has a little bit more of a bluish glint to it there. Next, this one here, Ultraviolet. This is one of my favorites. And you can see these look white in the actual pan. You can see that if you use it on its own, it's like white with like a little bit of a violet reflect, and that's actually what it looks like over the light matter as well. But when you put it on top of the dark matter, and I'm trying not to contaminate my colors, can you see how much more intense that is? And that looks really beautiful. Now, if you want these shades to be more intense, but you don't want to use the black base, you can use like a dark gray shadow or dark brown shadow, and they'll be more intense as well. Maybe not quite as much as over the dark matter, but you know, close enough. So this one here is Nebula, and this is our blue. Look at that. And I think this is one of the most impactful shades over the black. It is really beautiful. I mean, look at it on my finger. You can see it's a little bit, I think it's kind of easier to tell even on the finger versus on the arm in a way. This one is Aurora. This is the green. And again, another really beautiful shade. This one shows up really well on top of the black. Let me extend the black a little because we do have two more shades to go through. This one is Celestial, which is going to be your gold shade. And here it is on its own and over the light matter. And this is, you know, a beautiful shade for like in the inner corner and so forth as well. Over the gold, you're going to see, you know, it gives you more of that burnt gold look, which I think is really beautiful. And then the last one is called Cosmos. And unfortunately, you can see I've kind of dug into this one quite a bit more than some of the others. That's because this one doesn't perform very well. So here's the pink. You can see, you know, it's kind of like a soft pink reflect, a little bit of a warm pink, but over the black, you know, it's just, you have to keep piling it up. You don't really get much out of this. This one's not as impactful. It also doesn't feel quite as, the texture doesn't feel as creamy as the others either. So these are going to be your holograms. And I'm going to remove these so they don't set down because that dark matter will set. Now, by the way, performance on these, when you do use the light and dark matter bases, I do end up getting creasing by the end of the day. So just something to know. It's actually the hologram formula itself. It's not just the bases. They can crease. So if you don't want them to crease, you definitely want to use, you know, more of a lighter layer of them. So just something to know. I'm going to remove these. We'll move on to the rest of the eyeshadows. All right, so these are not in any particular order. I had these kind of grouped by color before, but they've gotten messed up. So some of these shades have been discontinued. There are a few shades I don't have, but I do have the majority of Surratt shades. So this one here is called Gray Gardens. And you can see this is a beautiful gray with a blue tint. So, you know, think about your, it's gray, but I wouldn't really say it's a true blue gray, but you know how when you're like painting your walls and sometimes in certain lighting, your gray looks a little blue or can look a little brown. This one leans a little bit more blue. This gray is called Enchantress or Enchantress. And you can see this is going to be more of your true charcoal. It is definitely going to be a bit more neutral. You don't have so much of that like that blue tone to it. This is Noir Le Plus Noir. So our blackest black, and you can see this is a true black matte. Very nice black. Again, you could use this with the holograms instead of the dark matter base as well. So those are really the grays. Let's move in to a couple ivories here. We've got Creme de la Creme. This is a great base cream shade here, and you can see it's just kind of your classic cream. Now, most of these shades are going to be matte shades. The majority of Surratt eyeshadows are matte. They can have a little bit of a satin sheen, but they don't have glitter except for one of them really. So if you want sparkle, you can get a little bit more of that with the holograms, but not really with these shadows. This one here is more of your yellow base cream. This is called Velen. And you can just see that that is going to be your warmer cream. So those are your creams, but we do have a white shade over here. And this is called Scintillant. Now this one has a little bit of shimmer. So there's the tiniest bit, I don't even know if I'd call it micro glitter, but you can see that this one has a little bit more of this grayish tint to it and a little bit of shimmer to it. So that's Scintillant. This one here is Chinchilla. I guess this one is a little gray as well. Now this one has some shimmer. So this is going to be more of your soft gray. And while we're looking at lighter shades, this is Star. And this is the only true glitter shade that Surratt has. I actually have this on top of my shadows now. It gives you that starlight effect. It is a soft gold shade and, you know, it's just a beautiful topper. This shade here is called Patine. And this is brown with a little bit of gray in there. Really beautiful. This is going to be more of a satin. There's a tiny bit of shimmer in here. This is Chocolat Noir, which is one of their most popular shades. And this also has a little bit of shimmer. And you can see this is going to be a deeper brown. It's more of a true neutral brown shade. It is definitely a favorite. This is Brun Noir. I'm trying to keep colors pretty similar grouped together so you can see how they compare. And this one's going to be matte. You can see that there's a touch more red in the Brun Noir, not to make it warmer or necessarily cooler. It's just a slightly different hue to it. So you can see that there's a little bit more gray in the Brun Chocolat versus the Brun Noir, or Chocolat Noir versus the Brun Noir. This one here is another matte shade. This is called Truth. And this is going to be a warmer matte brown. And you can see, although it's a deeper brown, you're getting lighter. It's definitely going to be a more deep medium. And then moving on, we have Haute Chocolat, which is another favorite. This is going to be a warmer tone golden shimmery brown. And this with Chocolat Noir, those are paired together quite frequently. So, you know, I would definitely say that they're two of Surratt's probably most popular shades. This one here is Grisaille. So it's Griege. And you can see this is going to be a lighter, more of your golden tone. It's not really a true grayish shade, which I think is spelled EI instead of IE. But yeah, it's definitely more like of a deep tan. And then we have Cuivre. This is your coppery brown. This one has some shimmer. And you can see there's a bit more red in here. It's going to be deeper. And this one here is Satin Saumon. And these shades, this is a shimmery shade, a satin shade. You can see these shades here are part of the classic quad from Surratt, which is called, I'm drawing a blank, beige something. But I'll put the name on the screen. So that's those shades, at least a few of those are included in that. I'll put that on the screen there. It's their classic beige quad, which, why? I don't know. I'm just drawing a blank. But let's continue on. We've got quite a few left. This is one of my favorites, is Zibeline. And this one does have a little bit of shimmer to it. And you can see this is more of a taupe brown, but it still leans warm. So there's a little bit, it's more of a golden taupe. Another favorite of mine, this one here is Vison. And this is going to be a little bit lighter. And you can see that this is also going to have a bit of a golden hue to it. But it also has a little bit of taupe. It's warmer still and lighter. This one here is Idee, and this has a little bit of a satin finish to it as well. And you have more of a beige with a touch of peach. This is matte, and this is called chamois or chamois. And you can see this is going to be a soft, it's not really a true peach. There's a little bit more of like a peachy champagne, but it's matte. Another matte shade, this one here is called Nu, just N-U. And you can see how that compares. And this one has a little bit more peach in it than chamois. So they're very close, but slightly peachier. One of my most used shades, this is Poudre. I love this as a base. This is going to be kind of a soft, more peachy pink. But it's just a pinker peach, but it's still peach. This one here is SWATCH, and this has a bit of a sheen as well. Oops, I must have contaminated my finger. Hold on, let me redo that here. Put that right underneath. So that's SWATCH, and you can see this is going to be a shimmery champagne, very classic shade. Ma Peche, this is going to have a satin sheen as well. This is going to be a deeper true peach. This is Rosatra, which is more of a dusty rose. And you can see that that is going to be kind of your warm dusty rose. It does have a warm base to it. Moving on to one of my favorite shades. This is Angelique. And this is going to be a light pink. And this one here is shimmery. Really beautiful shade. It's a pretty neutral pink, but it does lean slightly warm. This one here is Corsage, which is going to be more of a dusty plum. And this is a matte shade here. Really beautiful shade, classic. Another shimmery shade, this is Ravissant, which is going to be a purple. And you can see we've got some blue in there, but we also have a little bit of pink, and that's going to be a shimmery shade. If you're looking for a more pinky purple shade, this one here is Amoureux. And this is going to be more of a fuchsia. You can see, however, that it's not too bright. There's still a hint of purple in there. I think it's a really pretty shade, and I love those two paired together. We do have a couple other purples. This here is Violaceous, and this is going to be more of your blue-based purple. Really pretty shade. I don't know if this one is still around. By the way, those are mattes. And then we have another deep one. This is Tyrian. And I believe this one was discontinued last year. And this is like a deeper version with a little bit more blue. But there's also a little bit of red. So it really becomes more of a deeper plum. I think all of these shades are really pretty. I love purples. So I'm definitely a sucker for those. And then moving into more redder shades, we've got Renard Rouge. And this is kind of your brown red. You can see it does have a satin finish to it. And then we have Marron, which is going to be similar, but this is going to have a bit more burgundy. So this one's going to be a little bit cooler. Again, we have a satin sheen on this one as well. This is Lit de Vin, which is more of a berry shade. So you've got a little bit of that red. You've got some purple in there as well. And this one here is Fille Draguée, and I think this was also discontinued. And this one's interesting because you've got a little bit of purple, you've got a little bit of brown, you've got a little bit of red. It's a really pretty shade. It's also got a bit of a satin finish, but it's a little bit more subtle in the satin finish versus some of the other shades we've looked at. Let's take a look at some blues here. I've got a couple of blues. We got Minuit, and this is kind of your, classic blue. And then we have a navy here called D.O.W. And this is kind of your blue-black. You can see it has a black base. This is going to be more of a navy shade. Really pretty. Oh, I'm making a mess here. Okay, moving on. This shade was discontinued, which I wish they hadn't, because even though this is a shade I don't use too frequently, it is something that, when I want a yellow, this is the one I use. So you can see we've got a satin finish. It's called Sarin, and it's a subtle satin, more of a satin matte. I think it's a useful shade to have around. And then we're going to move into the greens. So this one here is Envier. I have this one on my eyes along with, you know, it's over the Smoky Eye Baton in Cendre. And then I don't even know what the other shade is. I'll get to that in a second. But Envier, you can see we have more of a true green. This has a satin finish as well. Think of like a 4-leaf clover. And then we have this one here is a little bit smokier. This is Verdâtre. We've got a little bit of shimmer here. And you can see we have more of a gray base. It's more of a, you know, almost more of a deep forest green. And then this is the other shade I have on my eyes. This is Moss. And this is going to be more of your brown khaki green. And you can see when you actually put that on, you see more of the brown than you do the green. This has shimmer. This is Doré. And this is gonna actually be, you know, more of a burnt gold, but there is a touch of green in there. More of like that olive mossy green. So it is kind of similar to moss. So just something to note there. And then I've got two more here. We've got Vigonia, and this is going to be a matte. And you can see this is going to be kind of a more yellow mossy green. And then my last shade here is Chameau. And this is kind of like khaki. So like khaki pants. So there's a little bit more of a yellow-green vibe to it than a true khaki pants, but that's kind of what it makes me think of. So these are all of my Surratt shadows. So I know this was a super long swatch party. I hope this was helpful. And, you know, I love Surratt shadows. They're a Japanese-American fusion brand. They were started by Troy Surratt. And I've talked about it in some of my other videos, so we're not going to go through too much detail on that. But, you know, essentially we're using like Japanese formulas. You know, pretty much everything's made in Japan. A few items are made in the US. But, you know, you're using these Japanese slurry formulas to get these soft colors and, you know, more like more Americanized colors. When this brand was started, you know, Japanese makeup is typically very, very soft. These were a little bit more pigmented than a lot of the Japanese makeup at the time when this brand was started. So, you know, kind of more of an American vision with Japanese formulas and quality. And I love them. You know, they are one of my favorite brands. And when they do come out with new palettes, they typically use the same shades that they already have in the collection that you can purchase individually, but they come in a curated collection. So it's a great way to revitalize what you already have and think of new ways to use colors you might already have. But if you don't have them, it can also be a good opportunity to pick them up. So hopefully this was helpful. I'd love to know your thoughts down below. Let me know your favorites, and I will see you very soon. Have a great day.